And Iran has not agreed to another round of talks due to careless US pressure tactics, which include President Donald Trump's blockade of the Strait of Hormuz and other unreasonable demands, the country's state-run news agency reported today. And Iranian officials said both sides must first finalize a basic framework of understanding before any further meetings can take place, and warning that premature talks without agreed principles could trigger renewed confrontation rather than progress. And Iran's Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei warned Saturday that Tehran's navy was ready to defeat the US and Israeli forces as the foes sparred over the Strait of Hormuz. In a series of posts on X, Khamenei said, "In the same way that the drones of Iran's army strike the US and the Zionist murderers like lightning, its valiant navy is also ready to inflict new bitter defeats on its enemies." And NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang warned of the US AI dominance as Chinese AI chatbot DeepSeek is looking forward to optimizing its models to run on Huawei chips instead of American hardware. In an appearance on a podcast, Huang said that DeepSeek is planning to strategically shift to Huawei's CAN platform instead of NVIDIA's CUDA.
That Prince Harry's rift with Prince William and King Charles has widened the breach between the royal family and the Sussexes. The Duke of Sussex reportedly feels utterly betrayed by the King, with insiders citing two major issues that burned all bridges between the father and son.
And the White House has involved the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, and all other relevant agencies to investigate the series of deaths and disappearances of high-profile US officials privy to the space and nuclear secrets. According to Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, the government has vowed to leave no stone unturned in its efforts to uncover the truth behind the missing scientists. And Karach. An angry mob set a water tanker on fire after the driver of the heavy vehicle ran over and killed a motorcyclist in Gulistani-Jauhar on Saturday evening, according to police and rescue officials. Speaking to Dawn, Sharia Faisal station house officer Imtiaz Hussein Shah said that a 40-year-old man was riding a motorbike when a reckless water tanker driver ran him over and crushed him in Block 18 of Gulistani-Jauhar.
That Karachi. The State Bank of Pakistan, SBP, said on Saturday that the government had paid $2 billion to the United Arab Emirates. Earlier this month, a senior Pakistani official said Abu Dhabi had sought the immediate return of 35 BN. The funds were part of external financing support extended in 2019 to help stabilize Pakistan's balance of payments.
And Pope Leo sought to downplay his feud with US President Donald Trump on Saturday, saying reporting about comments he has made so far during his Africa tour has not been accurate in all its aspects. Speaking to reporters in English aboard his flight to Angola for the third leg of his ambitious 10-day Africa tour, the first American Pope said comments he made 2 days earlier in Cameroon, decrying that the world was being ravaged by a handful of tyrants, were not aimed at Trump.
That Minister of State for Finance Bilal Azhar Kayani held an extensive interactive session with members of the business community, exporters and media representatives at the Karachi Chamber of Commerce and Industry, KCCI, on Saturday. Where he said the government is committed to inclusive, consultative and growth-oriented economic policy making ahead of the federal budget expected in June. That the minister expressed gratitude for the invitation and thanked prominent business leaders Javed Bilwani, Zubair Motiwala and the KCCI leadership for facilitating the engagement.
And WrestleMania 42, the two-day flagship event of World Wrestling Entertainment, WWE, is all set to take place at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas on Saturday and Sunday, April 18-19. This will mark the second consecutive year that Las Vegas hosts the WWE's most popular show. The event is scheduled to start at 6 p.m. ET and will be on ESPN Plus for US viewers, and the international viewers can watch it on Netflix. And King Charles gave locals in a quiet Scottish village a moment they weren't expecting this week, dropping in on a family-run shop in Aboyne to mark its 100th anniversary. The King on Tuesday arrived at Strachan's of Royal Deeside, a long-standing newsagents and whisky shop founded in 1926, where he was welcomed by Lady Saltown, Vice Lord Lieutenant of Aberdeenshire.
That Iran's military has imposed strict control over the Strait of Hormuz, closing the waterway for normal traffic, days after authorities declared it completely open. The move sent global energy market shockwaves, bringing uncertainty back. That Islamabad. Bushra Bibi, the spouse of former Prime Minister Imran Khan, approached the Islamabad High Court on Saturday seeking suspension of her sentence in the £190 million corruption case on medical grounds. Bushra is serving a 7-year sentence in the £190 million corruption case, which pertains to giving undue favours to property tycoon Malik Riaz in retrieving his laundered money from the United Kingdom. Her appeal against the conviction remains pending before the High Court. That. Despite recently being designated a supply chain risk by the Pentagon, Anthropic is still talking to high-level members of the Trump administration. There were earlier signs of a thawing relationship, or a sense that not every part of the administration wanted to cut off Anthropic, with reports saying that Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell were encouraging the heads of major banks to test out Anthropic's new Mythos model.
And Olivia Rodrigo sparked a ton of rumours about her upcoming album, You Seem Pretty Sad for a Girl So in Love. When her breakup with Louis Partridge was confirmed as it was supposed to be a love album, the 23-year-old was speculated to be scrapping the record that she was working on in favour of a completely new album at the time, as insider comments began pouring in. And Joshua Jackson turned an awkward moment into a powerful reflection at the New York premiere of Brunello, The Gracious Visionary. When asked to share the best advice his father ever gave him, the Dawson's Creek alum, whose dad abandoned his family when he was a child, laughed before answering bluntly, "My father abandoned my family." And renowned TV host Alison Hammond has sparked reactions from fans with her comments about Meghan Markle at his show. The TV presenter suggested that the backlash faced by the Duchess of Sussex is rooted in racism and misogyny. And Trump administration issued a 1-month extension in sanctions waiver to enable countries that want to purchase oil and petroleum products from Russia. The announcement was made on Friday, April 17, reversing Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent's statement, which declared not to renew the waiver just 2 days earlier.
That. United States, US President Donald Trump signed an executive order to expedite the medical research and treatments based on psychedelic drugs on Saturday. He directed the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, to speed up the review of psychedelic drugs that have already been granted breakthrough therapy designation by the FDA, adding these treatments will help people who suffer severe mental illness and depression. Islamabad, former Special Assistant to the Prime Minister, SAPM, on health, Dr. Zafar Mirza, on Saturday voiced alarm at the rising number of HIV cases in Pakistan, warning that the situation was becoming increasingly alarming. Honoring a press conference at the National Press Club, he referred to the emergence of HIV cases in Townshend uncovered by the BBC, saying that the reuse of contaminated syringes and inadequate screening of blood before transfusions were major contributors to the spread of the disease.